Hello everyone, it's Amy, and welcome back to Foam Stamps 101. Today we are going to be making postcard foam stamps so that we can make our own postcards. We can put whatever kind of decorations on the front that we want to. We could stamp on the front and then do all of the coloring. This is a postcard that I got like in a packet, but we are going to make stamps that give us our writing area and our addressing area, and so that we can make our own postcards and send them in the mail, because you can send your own postcards in the mail. So this is a larger postcard, and the standard size, I looked it up for the US, is 4x6. So that's what we're going to do today. But this one, I'm not sure how big this is, but again, we are going to make the background for our postcard so that we can make them and send them out. So we'll get started right away. We are also going to make line stamps. So like for journaling cards and that type of thing where you want to have lines on the back, we're going to do that also. So I've, excuse me, I've cut a piece of cardboard to 4 inches by 6 inches, and I'm going to show you how I get my foam ready, because I tried putting just a little bit of light blue ink on it, just with a ink brush like this, but it really wasn't dark enough, because the thing is, we're going to make lines, and making lines, we're going to cut them. We're going to cut the foam pretty much almost as thick as it is thick. So sometimes when you look at it, if you don't mark one of your flat sides before you start cutting, sometimes you will have this strip of white, and it's like, okay, is this right here like the face of my foam, or is this the face of my foam? And when they're really close, sometimes it's hard to tell. So what you're going to want to do is mark the face of your foam before you cut it into little strips, and then you will know what is so that it's all the same thickness when you glue it down, because it's going to be this thick. So long as you're got the face up or the face down, however you want to do that. But so long as that is the same way, you'll have the same thickness stamps. If I put this one, let's see. Okay, so this one doesn't have any lines on it, but this is the top of my foam. So if I put a bunch of them this way, they're all going to be the same depth. If I put some of them this way and accidentally put a couple of them this way, they're not going to be exactly the same depth. And when you go to stamp, you're going to have a problem, because they're not all the same depth from the back of your stamp to whatever you're stamping onto. So what I normally do is I take my foam and just take a pen or a pencil and lightly, because you don't want to dent it, because I do like my lines up so I can see them. So I just go ahead and very lightly just make marks on my foam. My pen doesn't really want to work. Just so that after I cut all of my little strips, I know which way is up. So, and I do it the full length, because I never know exactly where I'm going to cut these. So I don't know how long I might want my strips to be. Because I use them for different things. So here is our postcard, and this is 4x6. And the one thing that we have to remember is, so this is what we want to do. We want to do the lines and the stamp. So when we take these, we're going to want to do the lines and the stamp. No, the lines go over here. The stamp goes here, because you're going to take this and you're going to flip it over. And then your lines and your stamp are going to be on this side, just like you want them. So remember that you put them on the opposite side. And then the other one is, in the United States, we have the zip code. And the zip code, when you write your zip code, you put the name, the address, and the zip code goes on the right side. So remember, when you're putting in your address, don't put the zip code here on the right side. You want to put it over here next to the edge, because that's going to be the right side when you turn it upside down and stamp it. So I just go ahead and I just do this, and then you can either cut this with your scissors, you can cut it with an X-Acto knife. I just eyeball it, and I either do my scissors or an X-Acto knife. I don't really do one or the other. This is a little bit quicker. And so mine are not always exactly the same. You can mark it so that, you know, put like a 1/16 of an inch mark or an 1/8 of an inch mark, however wide you want your lines to be. You can mark it all and then draw lines and then cut it. I kind of like the organicness of some of my lines are the same and some of my lines are not. So, and here is another thing that once, see now I cut that, my top side is up right here. My top side is all the way down right there. This whole thing has twisted from one end to the other. Another reason to make sure that you have those lines there. It just makes it easier to pay attention to what's going on. So again, just go ahead and make yourself some nice little thin strips. These are going to be the lines you're going to write on. They're not as thin as these. And if you want, you can make postcards and just draw a line on them, or not even draw a line. But I like to have the postcard stamps. I think it's fun to have, and I like stamping them and then, you know, going to the front side and doing some kind of a collage on the front. So I just like to do it this way. Now also, you can put a stamp, a little foam stamp right on your postcard template, or you can just make your own little stamps. Now this one was cut with these types of shapy scissors. This one is Provo Crafts. This one did not work cutting my foam and my cardboard afterwards. It actually didn't like cutting the foam either. So I went and looked, because all of my scissors just come from the Salvation Army and stuff, so they're not all the same. And I found this one, which was, oh, wait a minute, I think I am wrong. The Bison was the one that did not want to cut through, and the Provo Craft is the one that did cut through. So, you know, but you can use your scissors like this. And if they don't cut through both layers, try them and see if they'll cut through just the foam. Then you could just glue it to a square of cardboard. And so here's the one that I cut with the foam. So that's just foam. So I could glue this one right to my postcard. So then there would always be a spot where your stamp is supposed to go. I don't really like to do that, but I wanted to show you that you can do that, and then you put your stamp in that spot when you get ready to mail it. I like to do them like this and then stamp them, because sometimes I want a different color. If I'm doing my lines and stuff in black, I don't want my stamp to be black. So I like to do them this way, because then I could just stamp like a light blue stamp or something on my paperwork, or on my postcard, and then put my regular stamp on top of there whenever I get ready to mail it out. So that's totally your preference. Then what I do is I do like to make lines for, I do want to put lines on here to put my lines on here. I want to draw lines on. I do want my lines to be straight. So I am going to, and I'm going to cut this. This is 4 by 6. So we want to have space to write over here. See, the space to write is a little bit wider than the space to put your address. And let's see what they do. I did mine at 2.5. Yep, that's 2.5 from the edge. So I went ahead and I just I set a stamp up here to remember that I did have to have room for a stamp, and then I had to come down far enough to have room for my, to write the name and address. So, but I went ahead and I did this, and then I just started at the bottom, like that, and I just put marks every half an inch. So I started right up here at the top, right next to my stamp. And then, like, I know that that's not my top line to write on. That is, like, I'm going to have this much room to write my name. And it's like, so that did look like enough. So there is my name. There's the street address. There is the city. And there is the zip code. And so I'm going to just put that right over here. Go at 2.5 just to make sure that they're all the same. I'm going to put the top of my line. There's my name, address, city and state, and zip code. And one more time, I always try and do 3 lines because then I know that they're actually lined up. If I get one off, if there's only 2 and you make one in the wrong spot, sometimes you don't notice that you're kind of going on an angle or something. If you've got 3, they either line up or they don't. And if one of them is way off, then you know, oh, something happened there. So I put these on here. Remember, this is going to be a stamp, so it's okay that these lines are here. They're not hurting a thing. And, you know, it's not going to show up on your stamp because I'm just making it the full length. I want to be able to see when I'm setting down my lines. I want to be able to see both ends so that my line is straight. If we just line it up this way, you can't see that line underneath. So you could be a little high or low. So if you can see the line at both ends, then you know that you're in a straight line. Okay, then I came in about 1/4 of an inch. And I just eyeballed that one. I'm not going to measure it. I just don't want to be right on the edge with my line. And then, let's see. I'm going to grab the one that I've already done. I have it sitting under a book here drying. And I went over 3¼ inches from the edge. And I'm going to put a line here so that there will be a line right here. I like to have that line there. And so that actually is 3¼ is more than half because this is only 6 inches wide, but that's the way I did the other one. So I think that's just the way I'll do this one because my lines aren't going to go out quite that far either. But this gives us, this is all writing space because our stamp will be there, our address will be here. This is all of our writing space. So now we're just going to cut our lines. I'm going to say, I'll cut it right about there. I don't really have to measure it. I just want it to fit within this space. So I've got a little bit of an edge on both sides. So then I'm just going to take this and line it up. I need 1, 2, 3, and then I'm going to need the zip code. And the zip code, I make it shorter. It doesn't have to be, but that is the way that I do it. So there's 1, 2. I'm making sure that my lines are all up. Line them up. 3. So those are going to go there. Is that big enough for my zip code? I think that that is big enough for my zip code. So I'll put that one. No, not there. There. And seriously, I really do have to remind myself, like, how to put this on here. Because because it's backwards, which your stamps always are backwards, sometimes it does throw me. I can't tell you how many times I've made one where all of these are on this side and then I go and stamp it and it's on the wrong side. And even more than that, I have put the zip code on the wrong side a lot. So we're just going to paint some glue on here. And then we just want to make sure that we have our lines up. And I do want to make sure that I line them up with this line out here. That's why I put it there, so that I know that my lines are, how do I want to say that? Because it's not straight. So that they're all lined up. I almost did it wrong. There. Now we'll put this under a heavy book after we do this bit here. And we need to decide how long do we want that to be. I don't quite have enough glue, so I need a little bit more. And let's make it like right about there. And the nice thing is there's no right or wrong way. There's no exact measurements that you have to have unless you want something to be exact. I thought I was going to make that shorter, but I didn't, so there we go. And where's the one that's, since this one does not have cardboard on the back. Now, I really just don't want it there because I normally do these lines in black. For the postcards, I like to do the lines in black, and I really don't want a big black square right there. So now this is going to get some parchment on top so that nothing sticks to it, and I'm going to set it on my table with a book on top to let this dry. And I'm going to show you the line stamp. So for a line stamp, the way that I do a line stamp, and we're not going to do a whole one because it doesn't really take that long, but I, a lot of times, do my line stamps 3 by 5. Because a lot of times that is the size that I make. I don't think this is big enough. Yeah, that's 3. So 3 by 5. And so what I do with them, I need to get this edge off because it's too rounded. That's not going to be good for a stamp. You need a nice, completely flat surface. Okay, now if you wanted to even, you could do something like, okay, I'm going to show you how you make your line stamp. I do this, take a piece of regular Scotch tape, which I did have some here. Here it is. I take a piece of regular Scotch tape, put it on the back to just hold it still. Line up the top with any line. And then I put my glue all over it, about half, and then do the other half because your glue dries very fast. Find your lines. And then I just go ahead and I cut my strips about 1/2 inch long on each side so that I can hold on to them, line them up with the lines on my line paper. And I normally start with one line down from the top, then I skip a line and go here. And then skip a line and go here. All the way down. So, but I was just thinking what might be kind of fun would be to maybe like put it on an angle like that. And if you put it on an angle like that and then you glued it down, you could like make your lines go like that so that when you stamped it, your lines would all be on an angle. Let's go ahead and we'll just do that way. It's probably too much. I got enough glue to do the whole thing. And I don't usually like to do the whole thing because the glue, I'm going to leave it a little thick down here. The glue likes to dry before I get to the bottom. And then I have to like take them off and put more on. So I'm going to take this one. I'm going to put it right here at the top. And when I'm all done then, after it's dry, I cut off the excess. Now this one, I'm going to cut it right there. I can get a couple out of this one. So I'm going to skip a line now and put that one there. That's enough for a zip code or something, so there's no point in leaving it on there. I only need a little bit so that I have enough to hang on to both ends. And the thing is, with your foam, you can even make wonky shapes for your lines. Skip a line, put that one there. And show you what I mean about wonky shapes. So we could do this all the way down. I kind of didn't like how that one was looking, so I'm going to just do that again. But you could do wonky shapes. So you could start here, making sure that your lines stay straight up. But you could go like this. And you could start at the top and make a swoosh like this, and then just continue with more swishes like this all the way to the bottom. Or, where's my, I guess I cut it all up. No, here's some more. It looks like if we cut a couple more, we can finish this one. I'm just gonna try and eyeball it quick. I normally don't do it quick with my, I'm getting way fat. I normally don't do it quick with my scissors. I normally really have to take my time because I get way off. Try it one more time. Let's see. So just do like that, and then come down, go back up, and this one is very fat too. So like that. And those aren't exactly lined up the same. That's okay too. It's just fun. They're just a little bit wonky, and it just makes them fun. So you can do this all the way down. Oh, I just got glue all over my cut postcard. This is probably not going to stick very well, but we'll see. And a lot of times, once you get them under your heavy book and let them sit for quite a while, it does do better. Can't tell what side is up on that one. I'll put one right there. So that is going to be a line stamp when this is all said and done. And we'll have to look at this one next week because it is going to need to dry. So this goes underneath a heavy book. And here's one that's already done. So, and again, started one line from the top and then skipped a line, put one down, skipped a line, put one down, all the way to the bottom, wound up with just one line at the bottom. And this is just taped on here with a piece of tape. That was just to hold it so that it wouldn't move when I was trying to line up all of my lines. And I just find that so much easier because otherwise I'm trying to hold it in the right spot. Now all of these little ones, if they have black marks on them, if they've got ink marks on them, you can go ahead and you can line these up on a background stamp. But you need to know what's the top because otherwise they may not all be the same depth. So that's another good reason to have those lines close together, because when you get to these little pieces, you need to be able to see a mark. Now here is a line stamp for a journaling card. So line stamps, postcards, they're pretty much made the same way, but they're easy to make and they're fun to make. I got glue on this one. And then one piece of 8.5 by 11 cardstock will make 2 postcards and 2, let's see, this is 4 by 6, these are 3 by 5, and you wind up with just a little strip here and a little strip up here. So you can get 2 journaling cards and 2 postcards out of 1 piece of cardstock. And by the time that you collage the back of it, it's going to be heavy enough. The cardstock is heavy, but you want it to be a little heavier to go through the mail. So now we are going to take this and we're going to see how it works. So we'll just take this and press it on here. And the one thing that you do want to be careful about is if you get ink on here, don't press that onto your paper. So there we go. It goes like this. We're going to just line it up here. There's our center, zip code, addresses. Give them all a pat. Remember, whenever you're inking or using your paint on your stamps, let them sit there for just a second. Let that ink soak into your paper. Especially cardstock is heavier than like copy paper. Give it a second, let it soak in. That you get a better image that way, and it doesn't matter whether you're using your own foam stamps or stamps from the store. Always give the stamp a chance to soak into your paper. There we go. Now we can write over here. We've got our address spot here, and then we can put a little stamp up there. Let's see. And so if you don't have those rounded stamps, you can also use, pinking shears works. And if you don't have any pinking shears, that's a rounded one. I had one that was pinking shears, but if you don't have pinking shears, you can just go ahead and just put little notches in it with your scissors. So here's one of the squares we did last week, which these are really too big for a stamp, but it gives you room to like mess around with it, you know, and take some bites out of it. It's going to make it smaller anyway, so. But you can just do it like this. And however, I kind of like this very random, organic look. You know, it's just like, it just is what it is. It's not, you don't have to have anything special to do this. And it's yours. It's your look. It's not exactly like anybody else's. It's not exactly like any other one you're going to have. So because there's one, here's another one that I made with scissors. Just very organic. But you can go ahead and stamp those and like maybe with a lighter color. And then when you put your stamp on there, you know, you may have, depending on the size of your stamp, an edge around your stamp of color, which looks really kind of cute. Like the regular stamps are smaller than this, but there are some, you know, like really quite large stamps that would cover it all up. But let's just take that, and I probably maybe shouldn't use Distress Inks because Distress Inks are water soluble. So if they get wet, they'll run. So really, Distress Inks are probably not, and I believe no matter what, I don't think you can heat set them, and I don't think that if they sit for a long time that makes any difference. I think that they just are, they are made that way. They're a mixed media ink, so, you know, they're made to run. So they're probably not the best to put on the back of your postcard, which might get wet, because then it will run. But just to show you, there. So that's where you're going to put your stamp, and then you've got all of this to collage on, and you can mail someone a postcard, and see, it's on the correct side. So there's our postcard, and really quickly, we will do, I don't really want black lines on my journaling cards. What else do I have here? I got some. Can you tell I like the turquoise color? I'll set that there for a second, and it needs a handle too. Take your tape, fold it up, keep a wing on each side. On something this large, I like to have 2 handles so I can use both hands. Like that. And now I can okay. Let's take our journaling card. And we might be able to get 2 stamps off this one. See, now you have a journaling card that you can decorate this side, and you have got lines on it to write on. Because it's kind of, you know, the purpose of a tag is to like have a spot to write down your thoughts and your memories. And I like I've always liked like the second stamp of any stamps. So they're called ghost prints, and I've always liked those just because they're just not quite as in your face. But there we go. Journaling stamps and our own postcards. They're just really fun to make, and even our own little stamps to stamp in the background. So I hope that you enjoyed this video. It's, you know, look, it's been a half an hour, and we did do a whole postcard. Oh, and we did do this. So we did a line stamp and a postcard in a half an hour. So, you know, it doesn't take long, and you can use them over and over. I was going to show you last week's, the 2 that we did that we didn't get to see last week were the star and the circle. I really do like the way the circle shows up with the little perfect little circle in the middle. We used a compass to do this, so the compass made a dent in the middle, but now we know that that is exact center. And then to do our shapes last week, we used cookie cutters, and we didn't get time to cut out and try the star. So there we go. Those really look pretty cool too. And again, on this one, I like the stamp off the best. So, but thank you very much for stopping by. I really do appreciate each and every one of you. Leave a comment if you get a chance, or a thumbs up. Thank you very much again. And I hope that you all have an outstanding day. Bye-bye.